Today, I'm going to be adding one NFL superstar from every state in America. The goal is to construct a roster to compete for a Super Bowl in just one season, but we will have to fill out the entire roster by using one player from every NFL team. This means we cannot add more than one player from the same NFL team to our roster, which will make this much more challenging. I put all 50 states onto this wheel, and after giving the wheel a spin, it's going to land on the state of Washington. After going through the list of active NFL players who were born in Washington, I narrowed the choices down to Cooper Kupp or Budda Baker. Both are extremely great players, but I think I'm going to be going with Budda Baker, and he'll be our starting strong safety. And now that we added our first player to the roster, we can no longer add another player from the Cardinals, and the state of Washington is now removed from the wheel. Spinning the wheel for the second time, we have to pick a superstar from the state of Wisconsin. And this was a no-brainer, bringing in TJ Watt from the Steelers to be our starting linebacker. Another good option would have been George Kittle, but I couldn't pass up on TJ Watt. If we happen to land on a state that doesn't have any active NFL players, I'll be forced to add a 65 or below rated player from one of the remaining teams, which will hurt our chances at winning a Super Bowl. Moving into our third spin, the wheel ends up landing on the state of Connecticut, and this isn't looking good. After looking for active NFL players from Connecticut, Zach Allen, John Jenkins, and Tyler Makovich are the only choices, so I elected to bring in Zach Allen as our new right end, knocking off the Broncos with that selection. And after jumping into our next spin, it lands on the state of Alabama. We have plenty of choices here like Quinnen Williams, Marlon Humphrey, Jonathan Allen, or even Julio Jones. And even though we don't have any offensive players on our roster just yet, let's go with Quinnen Williams, and he'll be our defensive tackle. And it keeps getting better with the next wheel landing on the state of North Carolina. You have to go with Daniel Jones at QB1, right? I'm just joking. It was either between Jair Alexander or Keenan Allen. Obviously, the best choice here is Jair Alexander, but we can't pass up on a shutdown corner, so let's add him to our team. And with that selection, we also knocked off the Packers. So far, we've only added defensive players, and in our next spin, we land on the state of Utah. Not many options, but Dalton Schultz was born in Utah, and he will be our first offensive player on the roster. Jumping right into the next wheel spin, and it lands on the state of Texas. This couldn't have gone any better for us, as we could bring in Trent Williams, Mike Evans, or even Myles Garrett, but none of these players are better than Patrick Mahomes, and he'll be our starting quarterback. The next state that the wheel landed on was Oklahoma, and my only choice was Tyler Lockett because Josh Jacobs and Creed Humphrey can't be chosen since we already used the Packers and the Chiefs. So I went ahead and added Tyler Lockett as our first receiver on the team. With 8 NFL teams already knocked off, our offense has Mahomes, Lockett, and Schultz, while our defense has some elite talent as well. The next state is Minnesota, and I have no idea which NFL players were born there. But after a quick search, the best option was Frank Ragnow, and he'll be our center on our roster. Keeping this going, the next wheel spin lands on the state of Massachusetts. And I had a very hard time making the choice here, as I could go with Christian Wilkins or Chris Lindstrom. I went back and forth on this, but I decided to help Patrick Mahomes and bring in Chris Lindstrom to be our right guard. Spinning the wheel twice this time, and the first one is going to be Iowa, and the second is Missouri. I would have loved to bring in TJ Hawkinson, but we already have a solid tight end on the roster, so I elected to bring in Tristan Wirfs to beef up our offensive line. And as for the state of Missouri, Koyasan Oluokun is the highest rated player, and he'll be joining TJ Watt at linebacker. And just like that, the Bucks and Jags are now knocked off the list. Let's continue by spinning the wheel, and the next thing we have to pick a player from is going to be Indiana. We have some incredible choices in Zach Martin, Jesse Bates, or Terry McLaurin, but this was a pretty easy choice. I'm bringing in Terry McLaurin to be wide receiver number 1. And right into the next one, it lands on Maine. There's only one active NFL player, and that's Nate Davis, who will play left guard. You have to knock off the Bears with that choice, though. Let's spin the wheel twice and see which state it lands on. First, it was Tennessee, and then Arizona right after. Really easy choice for Tennessee, bringing in Jalen Ramsey to play with Jair Alexander, and then for Arizona, I could go with Mark Andrews or Cameron Jordan. Even though we have Dalton Schultz at tight end, I can't be passing up on Mark Andrews, so he'll be tight end number 1. And just like that, we have half the NFL teams accounted for, and our roster is starting to come along. The offense led by Patrick Mahomes, and then TJ Watt leading the defense. Still have some work to do, and after spinning the wheel, we can add a player from the state of South Carolina. There's a few good options like DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Gilmore, and even DeMarcus Lawrence. And as much as I want to bring in DeAndre Hopkins to help Patrick Mahomes, we could definitely use a solid edge rusher like DeMarcus Lawrence, and he'll be our starting left end. There are still quite a few great football states left on the wheel, and after spinning it twice, it ends up landing on Maryland and Virginia. And even though there was plenty of options for Maryland, the best active NFL player is Stephon Diggs, who will now join Terry McLaurin at wide receiver. And as for Virginia, I had to bring in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah to join our linebacker core, knocking out the Bills and the Browns. With just 13 NFL teams remaining, the next wheel lands on the state of Georgia. And there's plenty of players to pick from, and as much as I want to bring in Tyreek Hill to reunite with Patrick Mahomes, we already used the Dolphins. but I like to bring in the newest Viking, Aaron Jones, as our running back. Still missing a few positions on offense and defense, so hopefully we can land on some states with lots of NFL players born there. Today's video is sponsored by Manscaped. With April being National Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, our friends over at Manscaped have partnered with Testicular Cancer Society to help spread awareness for men's health and early cancer detection. With this in mind, you can perform simple, routine self-checks at home while enjoying Manscaped products like the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. It features 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth and sleek. With dual LED spotlights, you'll achieve better visibility, making every trim more precise and hassle-free. In addition to providing the right tools and solutions for comfortable and easy grooming, Manscaped is committed to raising awareness and giving support for fighters, survivors, and families impacted by testicular cancer. This is why they will be donating $50,000 to the Testicular Cancer Society. Help save lives and balls by going over to manscaped.com/TCS and sharing their funny, educational check yourself video. And while you're at it, grab 20% off plus free shipping with code UPANDATOM, because like a famous American philosopher once said, take care of your mentals, your balls, and your chickens. Spinning the wheel once again, this time it lands on Arkansas. My options were Trey Greenlaw, Hunter Henry, or Treylon Burks. But since we can use another linebacker, I like to bring over Dre Greenlaw to join our linebacker group. Speeding this up a little bit, the next 2 wheel spins land on the state of Michigan and then Wyoming. Unfortunately, we can't go with Sauce Gardner or Aiden Hutchinson since we already use the Jets and the Lions, but at least we could bring over Michael Onwenu to solidify our offensive line. And as for Wyoming, Logan Wilson is an 83 overall linebacker, but since we have plenty of linebackers already, I like to bring over Taven Bryan to be our backup defensive tackle, knocking out the Pats and the Colts with those 2 selections. Right into the next wheel spin, it lands on the state of Pennsylvania. And there are so many great choices to choose from, but since we need a free safety, I decided to go with Geno Stone, who recently signed with the Bengals. And after spinning the wheel once again, we can pick a player from the state of Nebraska. I honestly have no idea which players are born there, but after searching it up, we can go with Cam Jurgens, Brett Meyer, or Isaiah Simmons. We already have our offensive line situated, so I decided to go with Isaiah Simmons, who's the best option, and he'll join our team. With just 7 NFL teams remaining, the next 2 wheel spins land on Nevada and then Illinois right after. 2 fairly easy choices, bringing in Puka Nacua from Nevada and Jake Elliott from Illinois. And then the next spin lands on the state of Colorado. And it would have been perfect to add Christian McCaffrey, but we already used the Niners, so the next best option was J.K. Scott, and he'll be our punter. This is where it starts to get really challenging, as we might be stuck with some 65 or below rated players on our roster. Spinning the wheel twice, and it lands on Idaho and then New Jersey. Unfortunately, the only active NFL players from either state from teams we haven't used yet were Taysom Hill, who will be our fullback / tight end, and for New Jersey, I brought in Jordan Fuller, knocking out the Saints and the Panthers with those 2 selections. The Raiders and Titans are the 2 remaining teams, so let's spin the wheel twice here. First, the wheel landed on the state of Louisiana, bringing in L'Jarius Sneed to beef up our cornerback room since he was recently acquired by the Titans. And then the last wheel lands on the state of Kentucky, bringing in Nate Hobbs from the Raiders. And just like that, our offense is looking amazing with Patrick Mahomes leading the way, and the defense should be able to win plenty of games. But there's one question that remains. Can this team win a Super Bowl in just 1 season? Unfortunately, the opening game did not start great for Team of the States, already down 7 because of a quick score by Houston. Mahomes then threw a screen to Aaron Jones, who ends up taking a huge hit and fumbling the ball. And somehow, CJ Stroud was able to connect with Robert Woods for a 37-yard reception for the first down. They ended up kicking a field goal, but after simming the rest of the first half, we were only down 3 points. In the second half, Mahomes was finally able to connect with Aaron Jones for a touchdown to take the lead. And after Houston scored to retake the lead, it was up to Mahomes and the offense to make something happen. A few plays later, Mahomes fits this nice pass to Stephon Diggs before connecting with Mark Andrews underneath for the touchdown. Jalen Ramsey was able to seal the game with this interception off of CJ Stroud, and the Team of States went on to win their first game of the season. After simming the rest of the season, the Team of States finished with a 15-2 record, which is good enough for first in the NFL, but their 2 losses came at the hands of the Jags and the 49ers. Luckily for us, we have a first-round bye heading into the playoffs. Surprisingly, Mahomes only threw for 3,300 yards, but had 31 touchdowns. As for rushing, Aaron Jones went off for 1,400 yards with 14 touchdowns, while Tyler Lockett had the most receiving yards on the team. We now take on the 12-5 Cincinnati Bengals in the divisional round. And it seemed like a great start for the Team of States as Joe Burrow failed to convert on 3rd down, but Mahomes ended up throwing an interception on his opening drive. But on 3rd down, Joe Burrow throws an interception right back to Foyesade Oluwakin. After saving the rest of the first half, the team of States have a 14-3 lead. And early in the second half, Mahomes threw a beam to Stephon Diggs for 26 yards before finding Terry McLaurin in the end zone to extend the lead. Although the Bengals scored to cut the lead, it was not enough, and the team of States went on to win the divisional round 21-13. Next up is the Kansas City Chiefs, who ended up signing Lamar Jackson after we took Mahomes off their roster. The rain was coming down hard, and on third down, Lamar could not come up with the first down, forcing the Chiefs to punt. Mahomes and the rest of the offense quickly got down the field, and he tried to find Mark Andrews, but Tyler Lockett ended up coming down with it for the first score of the game. The rest of the first half ended with the team of States up 21-14. But unfortunately, the Chiefs ended up scoring at the start of the fourth quarter thanks to Hollywood Brown to take the lead. Luckily, we have Patrick Mahomes, and he was able to lead the offense down the field before throwing a beam to Stephon Diggs in the end zone to retake the lead. That didn't last long as Pacheco finds the end zone, and with just 2 minutes to go, Mahomes works his way all the way down the field and finds Puka Nacua underneath to put this game away. And we are now heading to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, Mahomes ended up finishing second in MVP voting, but we now take on the 14-3 Cowboys in the Super Bowl, led by Dak Prescott. And early in the game, Jake Elliott was able to get on the board with his 55-yard field goal. Dak and the Cowboys offense struggled in the first quarter, and Mahomes was able to make them pay by getting them into scoring range, and then handing it off to Aaron Jones for the first touchdown of the game. After simming the rest of the first half, the team of States have a 24-3 lead. Although Dak and the Cowboys tried to mount the comeback with this Jake Ferguson touchdown, they were still trailing by 16 with 3 minutes to go. One first down wins it here, and Mahomes throws a beam to Stephon Diggs, who picks up the first down, and the team of States went on to defeat the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. If you enjoyed this video, you should definitely check out NFL Imperialism. Everyone is back on the team that drafted them. It was a good one. Go check it out right over here.